Michael?
I'm poised. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to strike.
Okay, great. Yeah, you're very poised.
Where's your pop filter? I forgot it.
So loud. It's so loud.
Flipping Michael, no. Christ.
I'm not doing a glitches for this. I refuse to do a glitches for this.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to this very special bonus episode of Quantum Kickflip. My name is Laena, I am your host and your Slugblaster, and with me are some of my best and funniest friends in the whole world who are going to introduce themselves with the character they played and their signature device.
Hi, my name is Michael Vetsch, and I played Woldton Wick, the Chill Playbook with the Robot Companion.
Hi, I'm David Ray, and I played Trev 4, the Heart Playbook with the Hyper-Optic Visor. What's up, y'all?
You son of a bitch.
I'm Robyn. I played Maeveline Xandross, the Grit Playbook with the Photonic Jacket.
And I'm Liam. I played Helix Pinnacle with the Hard Light Board.
And as I mentioned, my name is Laena, and I was your Slugmaster for Season 2. But it's all behind us now. It's all in the rearview mirror, and as we look back, we reflect, using the questions that you have asked us on the Wilkie's Candy Lab Discord. We have a series of questions here for the players, for me as the GM, and we're just going to go through them and talk about Season 2.
Can we start off by saying, hey, we did it. We did
did
a
it.
second
We
season
did
of the podcast.
it.
Great job, y'all.
Great job, us. Great job, Laena.
Yeah.
Great job, Laena, for DMing the shit out of that.
Great job, players, for being awesome players. So we've had questions come in for some of us as individuals. We have had some questions coming in that all of us can answer as a group. We are going to start with the individual questions. So the first question comes from DM Rawlings on the Discord, and it is for Dave. Rawlings asks, I want to know everything about the Trev 4 voice. Where did it come from? Was it created for the character or brought in from an improv bit? Any stories there?
It all kind of came from the fact that we were working on a show called the Radioactive Wasteland Variety Hour. Mm-hmm. And we were writing all of these sketches, vignettes that would be a part of this other play in the post-apocalypse of all these things that these characters would be interacting with. And there was a scene written with our characters interacting with a robot. And nobody was assigned to anything yet. It was given to me to just read in the moment, and so I came up with a generic robot voice. And I was like, here's the one I have. And then I'm like, that is pretty fun to do. And we were coming up on the second season of this show, and one of the characters I pitched was a robot that was, based off of this voice. So I thought it would be kind of fun to actually pull up that skit. I pulled it up.
Yeah.
We saw these questions in advance. So I wanted to read the thing that inspired the robot voice originally. And Laena and Michael are playing themselves in this post-apocalyptic future. Mm-hmm. And then my character's name is literally Robot. So... Take it away, you two.
Oh, are we singing our line? Sorry.
There's no time to waste.
There was a song that they just finished. We had a music. This is a music.
There would be underscoring underneath all of this because it's in the middle of the song.
There's a bunch of little vignettes between verses.
I'll
Robot enters.
Destroy all humans. Destroy all. Sigh.
Robot notices the pair and gets excited.
Processing. Greetings, travelers. You would not happen to be humans, would you?
Nope, not us.
Are you sure?
Pulls out a giant futuristic-looking gun.
You appear to fit all the criteria for being a human.
We are definitely not humans.
No, super not.
100%
we have no guts.
inorganic
Guts are
life
super
forms
gross.
right here.
Wish I could
We are
destroy all
cold
guts.
and made of metal for sure.
This is what we really
We just
sound
look like humans so we can blend in.
I don't know what love
Catches
is.
them off guard. So, yep. Sorry you can't kill us. Good luck out there.
This is convincing. Sigh. I just wish I could kill one more human.
Robot moves on dejectedly. Michael and Laena both sigh with relief.
I can't believe I bought that.
Yeah. I just wish humanity had stumbled upon it sooner.
So it was because we were reading the script. I did that voice, and then the actual voice comes from my memory of like speaking spells of like little electronic voices in devices that were not very good.
It's got some Flight of the Conchords energy. Jermaine
Yes.
Clement doing the like, can't we just talk to the humans?
Yeah, the helmet. Where like I don't know why these old electronic devices choose to emphasize not the wrong syllable in a word, but the weirdest letter in a word.
Or like
Helmet.
adds a syllable weirdly. Helmet.
Human.
Yeah.
How do you emphasize the U in human? I don't know, but
It probably has a matter to do with like whatever library of different vowel sounds they have were limited.
Yeah.
You might use the wrong one from something.
What's wild is that not only did you not end up voicing that robot in the finished play, that scene just got fully cut.
so
it just
yeah.
good thing you got to use the voice in QK season 2 because it did not show up anywhere else.
Well, and that's why I thought it would be fun if we were like pitching different characters for the different things. And if I was going to do a robot, the funniest one to pitch it for would be the Heart Playbook.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that makes the least amount of sense.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Tin Man, no heart.
And then, like, no, he is the Heart Playbook, this next question comes from Mikey Maybe, our the one who designed...
Famous rapper Mikey Maybe.
Famous.
A name he definitely continues to use to this day.
Yeah, that's right.
Lesser known alias Mikey Ham.
That's right.
Lesser known.
Lesser known. That's how the government knows him. So Mikey, designer of this wonderful game, asked, I want a deep dive on all the Daibakin forms. I know Michael answered a bit of this in his Patreon interview, but I need more now that the season is wrapping.
Yeah, Daibokin. It's pretty much fully a ripoff of the Digimon mechanical structure. I like Digimon always had different tier forms like in training, rookie, champion, ultimate, mega, and I just made one-to-one forms of that of the proto, primary, polished, prominence, and perfect forms because alliteration is funny.
Can you rattle off all the forms we saw over the course of season 2? Can you give us the checklist?
Yeah, I could even So the proto form we had Scampigan. Which is very just like the most Pokemon-like of it in that like don't talk. That was
kind of animalistic.
Yeah, that lined up with some of the upgrades that I was working with in the playbook. Jumping to primary form was Carcinican, and he's incredibly just Tentamon, who is one of my favorites from the original Digimon series. Polished form. This is like with the polished form is where I started branching out and making like multiples of them because that is something you do actually see in Digimon of like different champion level forms and stuff. Classic example I think of is in season 1 Digimon where Tai and Agumon are getting a little twisted. There's some dark energy, and instead of becoming Metal Greymon, he becomes Skull Greymon. And it's just like, oh shit, there's a dark side to this.
I love that people who don't know Digimon can still understand the implications of that.
He's not metal, he's Skull, which is somehow
which
like
is dark.
radder.
Yeah.
What rocks harder than metal? Skull. My favorite music genre.
Skull music.
Yeah. But yeah, and like also similarly in season 2, they introduced things of like armor digivolutions, which was like there were some characters who carried over from the first season to the second. They're like, oh, we can't just use the same stuff that people already know. We have to give them new forms, and this felt like the right power level to sort of branch that out and have stuff that was a little more versatile to different situations. So there was Arthurkin, who was the large lobster guy. Alphaidkin, which was the pistol shrimp with a big gun. Scyphoskin, which was the large horseshoe crab because I think having a thing designed purely for transport is funny. And then toward the end of the season, we were introduced to the prominence form, sort of the ultimate variant of Anomukin. And it's not often you get to do a demon voice, and I don't have to project it on stage, so it's easier into a mic.
And then we also don't see a Nomukin very often, so you can do it like in short and sweet doses and not wreck your vocal folds.
Ruin it. And then last with the perfect form was Carcinitekin, which just went back to being the most humanoid type thing, which is very Wargreymon, very much like that.
Very Digimon, where you get bigger and bigger and stronger, and then you kind of turn into a guy.
Yeah, the
maybe
most powerful thing goes back down to normal size.
Yeah.
And also just Jay Peterman from Seinfeld, we need to acknowledge.
I had also, along with this, there is within Digimon a lesser used form of like the fresh form, which is like the most baby. And I had envisioned that as the pre-type form, which would have been Krillkin, which would have been just tiniest little brine shrimp Daibokin. But no moment ever really came up to do it. So I was
because you didn't tell me. Sorry, I need the listeners to know at this point that Michael did send me a list of all of the forms and all of their names and everything, which is why I was able to bust out a Nomukin in the Dreadfly run, is because I had that list and I could name drop it without, and also surprise you with it. But you never told me about Krillkin, because I would have busted out that tiny little
It was
guy.
struck through in my notes app from like the second day of envisioning things with this character.
You know what? That's okay.
But yeah, that was like those forms. It's really just a lot of Digimon influence, because when we were sort of starting up season 2, I was beginning to watch what was like the sort of the reboot of the original series that had been coming out on Crunchyroll, and I was deep in that. Oh boy, Digimon was always like. The show was much cooler than Pokemon, but Pokemon had better in every other property. The Digimon cards made no sense. The games are very drawn out.
You say that like the Pokemon cards make any sense.
Well, compared to the Digimon cards.
Fair.
Oh, boy.
So now this leads to my next question about this. First season, you did one type of anime. Season 2 was another type of anime. Do you have a third type of anime that you have lined up?
Not in mind, but you know my bullshit. Probably something.
Okay, good.
It's gonna be a cooking anime.
I was gonna say sports anime for sure.
Oh,
You're gonna be a jock, an anime jock.
Oh God, I feel like that would run too close to to Nick's very shonen protagonist positivity energy.
Sure.
You never know.
Yeah.
Who knows what future might hold from Japanese influenced media?
Anime, yeah.
But yeah, that is sort of roughly where my inspiration on the structures was coming from for Daibokin, was a lot of Digimon with a touch of Pokemon.
Mostly my doing.
And I welcomed it heartily.
Yay.
I've spent too many hours. It's baked in there. Jumping on to our next Q&A, we have this question coming in from person who happens to exist. And it's directed to Liam. When was it decided Helix would have a twin? Was it the plan from the start, or a stroke of mid-shower inspiration? Oh, like
Because when you're in the shower.
Okay, shower.
I also was like, did they mean mid-show?
Yeah.
But no, mid-shower does make
Mid-shower.
sense also.
Yes, a spontaneous shower thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, most of the stuff I bring to this is shower thoughts. That's a lot of this is like, ah! But specifically Helix, no, it was cooked in from the beginning. I sent, in the same way you sent Laena a message of all these Daibokin forms, I was like, here's what I'm thinking. He's got a twin brother in a tube. Because it was one of those, it was something we had before we started recording, but it was maybe one of the last details I thought of for Helix, where I was like, okay, so he's the smarts playbook, so he's Ubermensch, he's the perfect Operablin, like started working backwards from that idea. And when I realized like, oh, he's like a test tube baby, and they're testing him to figure out what the perfect evolutionary Operablin would be, once I kind of clicked all those pieces together, I was like, and the whole thing of like, he's the smarts, but he wants to be the stupid stunts guy. He's the smarts because he's very capable, but he's really played like a jock, like an athletic jock guy. All that had been in place. And then I was like, well, if they're testing him, they need a control group. Like, what are they checking him against? The other people or like himself? Oh, there's a and then I'm like, and that was just kind of like a backstory thing that like a carrot I could dangle in front of him, me, Laena, to like, you know, what mystery of the Pinnacle project is he trying to uncover? And I even think when I messaged you, I was like, we don't have to do this at all. But if you feel like it, I figure he's a variable and there's a control in a tube somewhere. What was a mid-season inspiration that I really like was it was Lena's idea to have Helix not know he was a variable. Like that was used.
Yeah, because I like the controls and variables. At some point in the season, it got a little bit confusing that like, oh, if Helix was a variable, then you would have to know that there was a control, and having that implication felt like too much of an unanswered question, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so we thought that it might be more interesting if Helix assumed that everyone in the Pinnacle project is divvied up into either control or variable. The variables, quote unquote, go out and do all sorts of dangerous stuff. The controls live more or less everyday lives in Operablum. And that's the group that Helix assumed him to be a part of. But in truth, everyone was a variable, all tested against
These controls.
the controls that were in a pod in stasis somewhere.
Yeah, and I think it was, I remember even being a little confused, but wanting to like yes and it and build on it. And it was maybe a little confusing early on, but then I was like, oh no, this is brilliant. This idea of like 2-tiered variables. Like, because it, like you said, it gives him this thing where he thought he was a control and all these people getting dunked in gas are variables. And then it's like, oh no, we're all variables and the controls are hidden away. Like it did facilitate that in a way that I think really worked, even if it was maybe a little, like I remember all the three of you kind of looking at Laena and I with like furrowed brows the first time we're trying to explain this.
What's
Like,
happening?
What is happening? Sorry, can you explain how this lays out?
I think we got there eventually.
I think we got there eventually, and I think it was overall for the best, and it added the actual mystery layer to what could have just been a like weak surprise. Like, oh, guess what? You're actually
Yeah. Can I add my favorite mid-show Helix development that wasn't planned out of the gate?
What?
His genitals.
Oh yeah. So, I believe this is just mentioned in the glitches, or is it?
I don't know if it's been mentioned. If it was only in the glitches.
So yeah. Oh, okay. Then yes. Then it hasn't been mentioned on the main feed.
Not at all, and maybe not even in the glitches.
So, it definitely in the glitches because I listened to them all recently.
Okay.
So this is now on the main feed. I had always imagined Helix as having no belly button, or really any organ associated with procreation.
Because he's made in a tube.
He's made in a tube. Why would he need a belly button or like? And then the reason I was like he doesn't have genitals was it's not his DNA to pass on.
Yeah.
And that very dark idea that like it's not his, you know, the Pinnacle project owns the DNA. He's not meant to spread it, so he is just not given procreative tools.
Yeah.
And then Trev slapped me in the nuts.
Not Trev, Mogi, but
Mogi,
Dave.
Dave slapped me in the nuts. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it kind of got more dark where he's not a Ken doll. He's got genitals. They all have genitals because they're people. They're humans. He's just shooting blanks.
Yeah.
And that somehow was like even darker of just like we have engineered procreative semen out of this creature.
I don't think it's so funny that like
The perfect Operablin still vuxes, but he's got a parking boot on.
Yeah, but I was only good parking. Good lord.
Wow. I was so surprised because like
Fucking boot. Anyways.
when that moment happened where Dave was like, and then Mogi just like nut taps you, I was like, whoa, I never thought it would actually come up.
Same.
That the Ken doll situation would need to come into play, but I guess we can now establish that Helix doesn't have genitals. And then you were like, oh, he got nut tapped. And I'm like, oh, I guess Helix has nuts now.
Yeah,
But it's so hard he grew nuts.
It threw me for a loop because I knew about that situation, and then I was like, "Oh, that wasn't the choice I expected Liam to make." But you know what? This is maybe more elegant.
I just love that a nut tap established canon in a way that like that was a very important nut tap that nailed down the broader canon of the show.
And you probably had no idea.
I don't think that was your intent.
Mogi Jacksonville was a menace at many levels in this campaign.
So yeah, I'm glad I got to share that because I still think even without the actual gender, like just the dystopian idea that it's not his DNA to pass on, I was like, that was again one of the favorite like that was a shower thought. That was like, oh shit, yeah. Well, we have a question for Robyn here. How much new Arborist lore did you cook up for Maeveline versus stuff you had already thought up from GMing season 1?
Yeah, quite a bit. I tried to carry over as much as I could from season 1, but there were things that I just like hadn't established because I didn't need to when the Arborists were just sort of a shadowy threat to weird gravity. Whereas now we're like looking at them. They spent most of season 1 as antagonists, so then suddenly when you have an Arborist protagonist, you have to like look at them more serious. Like they can't just be villains who do villain shit for whatever reasons. They have to like have motivations that make sense. And yeah, the main thing with Maeve was just like I wanted to, when we decided we were going to do Operablum, I was like, this is going to maybe get exhausting if we have to keep justifying why we're explaining things about the world that we all already know. So I very early on was like, I want to play a character from another dimension so that I'm the one who can ask all the obvious questions. Be like,
You're
well, wait, why
window.
does the world look like, why do the towers work this way? Or why does this happen? And then being an Arborist gave a reason why, you know, she would be over there. And then that allowed me to do the OC reference of she got arrested and she's been given a second chance and like play my my Ryan Atwood fantasy out, which is great. But yeah, like the things that carried over, I think were like we had established that they had a High Forester was the leader. So like Foresters and High Foresters were a thing. And I think we had named the temple in Thanaspar, and it was Deciduum Temple.
That's a. Did we name it, or was that a book name?
If it's a book name, I might have written it because I did some writing for
I
the
think
book.
that might have, because I don't know if we named it in season 1, but it might have been something that you wrote for the book.
Yeah.
Anyway,
if I'm
it's
stealing credit for someone else's
semantics.
idea, I apologize. But so then, yeah, for season 2, we had to come up with, well, there's a temple in Operablum. What would that one be called? I went with Aserium Temple, which I believe has something to do with, like, it's a certain type of tree genus that has
Produces
leaves.
trifoliate leaves.
Yeah.
Leaves that have 3, like
Exactly.
maple leaves, for
Yeah.
example.
And so the 3 towers, the 3 trifoliate leaves, thought that was a cool inside reference thing. And then also just like the structure of like, okay, well, we know there's foresters, but what below that, like, are they all, is it just foresters and regulars, or what's the deal? So the idea of seedlings and saplings, and that you're when you're first inducted, you're a seedling, you've joined the order, but you're proving yourself, and then a sapling, you've been untethered and you're like more of a Jedi Knight instead of a Jedi Padawan.
Yeah.
But not yet a master, not yet a forester.
But how can you be on the Arborist Council without being a master?
And then I'm just breezing past the allegory, the idea of like they essentially have to do like a mission trip, because that was the whole justification for Maeve being here, was like, well, why isn't she, you know, yeah, she got busted raiding the Arborist Temple, but why isn't she working at the Thanaspar Arborist Temple? Well, you have to go to another dimension to, like, you know, find your place in the multiverse, and it's a combination mission trip Rumspringa thing that they do, and it was called Allegory because that's another tree reference, I think. I don't remember what it means. It's been too long since we came up with the lore.
Allegory refers to any of many types of seed dispersal, where a vector or secondary agent is used to disperse seeds.
Yeah, seeds being dispersed as you're spreading out into the multiverse. I'm great at
You're
lore.
so smart.
I'm so smart. But yeah, and I think those were all the new things. And then the other big things I prepped for season 2 were Maeve's slang and Maeve's like previous crew. And I was very excited to finally dig into that when we did. I had come up with
Yeah,
their
the question was
names.
about Arborist lore.
Yeah. It's my turn, and I'm going to talk about all my character stuff.
You mentioning pulling like genus names for Aserium and stuff. A lot of the names I pulled for Daibokin were also just like Latin scientific names from whatever kind of creature form I took.
Oh, yeah.
I had forgotten about that aspect when I was doing a lot of the naming stuff, and that reminded me of that. So
Yeah.
much in the way that, but like I took it one step further than Digimon, where it's just Catmon.
Yeah.
It's like
I tried to do a similar thing for Brabley's Daibokin forms, because, yeah, Michael designed all of Scampikin, Glenna designed Varpikin, I designed Brabley's forms, and I tried to do a similar etymology thing, but snake names are just kind of their names, so it's like, adder, viper, cobra, they're just names of snakes.
Well, question here for Laena is next. What storyline played out differently than you anticipated? Either that, or what was the biggest surprise of a player choice that caused you to adjust plans?
So there were a lot of instances where I had to change my plans, throw away my notes. And like every time it happened, I was very grateful for it because it helps remind me that this isn't a story I am telling, it's a story we are telling. So I always welcomed those instances. I think the biggest diversion of a storyline that I didn't anticipate was Woldton the Fust run. A lot of that run, I think, was, and I think all of the runs that I considered to be like quote unquote character specific, I don't know if they necessarily fulfilled the goal of like, we're going to dig deeper into this character and push them further along their arc. It's sort of, I think, translated a little bit more to, this is just a run that's a little bit more focused on this character's sensibilities. Like the Wilkies run maybe didn't necessarily push Brinley further as a character, but it was a delivery run, and so it sort of centered her a little bit more. That's kind of how the run's arc sort of turned out. So it was interesting that in the first run where I was like, thinking I was pushing Helix a little bit, but it turned out I was pushing Wolt. And the main idea that sort of propelled the first run was the phrase, you need to take this seriously. And how that applied to each person. Helix needs to take his work at the Pinnacle project seriously. Maeve needs to take her role within the Arborists seriously. Kind of that sort of idea through many different lenses. The Arborists, the Pinnacle project, Post-Host, other crews, BRB and the Wicks. It was a big thing with BRB in the first run that they were like, no, slugblasting is like a sport. And what you are all doing is like belittling the name of slugblasting, and we're not going to stand for it kind of thing. And I think from the perspective of the Wicks towards Wolt, they sort of felt like Wolt was hanging out with this group that wasn't taking slugblasting seriously, and that's why he wasn't gelling with them as a slugblaster. So what I was thinking would happen in that run was that the Wicks would push up against Wolt and say, hey, this really doesn't seem like the right vibe for you. They're not taking anything seriously. Come with us. We'll take care of you. The thing I was not expecting was for Wolt to say, okay, and walk away. I think it very much changed the trajectory of that run because there was a lot less focus on what was the final challenge. I think we sort of did like a smash cut to after the fact.
Yeah.
And the third leg of that run became, let's go get Wolt. And then even after that, there was, the Simpsons, the Flanders are over here and the Simpsons are over here and Maggie has to choose. Yeah. Wolt has to choose between the Wicks and Gold Star Disaster. I figured again, oh, perfect. This episode is sort of the arc where they go and try and get him back. I, again, was not expecting Wolt to go with the Wicks. So but again, I loved it because it threaded more discord through Gold Star Disaster. It shook your foundation and your identity quite a bit more. It made the next run with the Waking Pits so cool because we got to dig more into Wolt as a character in the context of the Wicks and dig more into each of your characters, especially like Maeve, right? Someone who has struggled to commit to the Arborists, trying to find her place and struggling with people abandoning her. Mm-hmm. First Mad Method abandons her, and then Wolt abandons her. It was very, fitting to both of your arcs. And then you got to be Mondo, and that was sick.
Also having someone sort of tag out and have a problem with the first run, like you were saying, so much of that run was other people asking Gold Star Disaster at large, are you taking this seriously? And having you nope out so quickly gave me a good reason to not just dig my heels in, but push my arc. It did end up pushing my arc.
It did.
Because I got to ask myself, am I taking this seriously? What does this mean to me? And he's like, no, this is as much slugblasting as anything else. It's one of my favorite parts of the book. The slugblasting manual where it's like slug blasting can be different things to different people. It's like a 2-page spread where they're like, it's a sport, it's an artistic personal statement, it's an act of rebellion, it's a crazy thrill. And this, especially thinking back to how Jackass is rooted in skateboard culture. Like Jackass came out of really fucked up skateboard videos. It just like it tracked that this was like, he's like, no, this is as legitimate a type of slug blasting as anyone else.
Yeah, it defined it for Helix. Yeah, absolutely.
But it also maybe gave you that push to like, okay, but no, I'm not going to sign the fuss contract. Like,
because there's a lot of questions about slug blasting I haven't asked myself or really like done the rigor on. It's not throw my hands up and quit. It's not take it too seriously like BRB.
Yeah.
But I'm not done asking my questions.
Yeah. You realized you needed to figure out what slug blasting meant to you. Yeah.
So, and then that was a challenge for me because I was really hanging my hat on the smarts wants to be dumb guy angle, and I'm like, well, we've sort of solved that by Act 1. This character's gonna be richer and deeper and more interesting than I
planned. So, a question I had coming into this episode here tonight is that I was curious about like why you chose Opera Ablum as your place, because going into season 2 there's a variety of pitches from different folks to like, oh, you do this or this, and you chose Opera Ablum to be the base dimension and everything like that. So why did you choose it? What ideas were you trying to explore? Was that fully thought out, or like what was the dynamic on that?
Yeah, some of this I have talked about in my GM interview with Robyn. The short version of why I chose Opera Ablum is that I didn't. Robyn did. Robyn had the idea, and then I was like, what if that was my idea? But the reason I think I was so drawn to it after it was pitched as Opera Ablum as a home dimension was it sort of ties into the ideas that I wanted to explore, is like, when you're in a very, very bleak situation and everyone seems to have their own idea of how to fix it, how do you find your own hope in that circumstance? And the idea that, like, you know, this fog is rising and all that anyone seems to do is build these towers higher. Very much felt like the planet's on fire, let's use paper straws kind of vibes for me. And the idea of like, well, how would each tower approach this in a way where they feel like they are correct and the other two are wrong, but not in such a way that any one tower is correct or any one tower is evil. I didn't want an evil tower. I wanted a very rock, paper, scissors situation where it's like... I'm
just thinking about how there's like, there's the 4 Harry Potter houses and there's the joke that like one of them's just the evil one. And so that it's funny that you have 3 towers, because you're like, well, if I had a 4th tower, it would have had to be the evil one.
That was the evil one.
Yeah.
The missing 4th tower in the middle of the Triforce.
When you think about it, when you think about Triskelion base, middle of the Triforce, the evil one. You took that tower down.
The evil tower was inside us all along.
Whoa. Makes you think.
But yeah, that was basically what I wanted to explore, was like different, equally valid ideas in a very bleak situation, trying to find cohesion within all of those ideas and then trying to find hope within that circumstance. Those were the broad ideas that I was excited to explore.
I want to make it clear, like, I pitched when we were trying to come up with the season 2, I was like, I think it'd be fun if our home dimension was a different dimension, because that would make it different than season 1. And I think out of all of them, Opera Ablum would be the most fun to do that in. And that was the end of my thought process. And then Laena came in with like, I have all this world building and all of these ideas about the philosophies of the towers. And it's like, well, shit, that's way better than anything I ever would have come up with.
The session where we planned the world, where we designed what each tower stood for and kind of their aesthetics, was one of the most fun recording sessions, because it really did like getting to kind of create this world where there's already a foundation, no pun intended. There's already like a foundation from the book and from season 1, but we're like, no, we got to define these 3 towers. Like defining those together was so much fun.
It was also a great way to just like build a similar perspective on the world that all of us shared and had references to, and also like build investment for ourselves as like things that sparked inspiration or fun that we saw as like ideas that we contributed or things that other people did that like we really wanted to play with once we heard them. Yeah. It was a good way to really like everyone put a little bit into the recipe for it at that stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also think it was just sort of worked out nicely. We did the cyberpunk world, and then 3 of our 4 or 5 signature devices all utilized hard light in a way that most of our season 1 stuff didn't. And just like that concept of hard light as the like, you know, like the Tron light cycle, but in whatever form you want to have it. Your Daibokin was like a little hard light projection, as I understand it. You had the jacket, I had the board, and it just having like everyone having Tron light cycle powers fit the vibe. It worked out really nicely in that regard.
And I think it set up for me personally, like a thing that I loved about the season was that in season 1, we had that thing of the Arborists were antagonists, but then like over the course of it, like the players learned that like, oh, actually they're not, you know, they're not trying to do anything evil. They're just like, we're at odds and we don't realize where each other are coming from. So they went from villains to sympathetic. And I love that I got to play the reverse out in this season of like, no, they start sympathetic. And then over the course of it, we learn that something sinister is going on and like help to tie that into Maeve's own arc of like, just when she starts to accept her place as an arborist, now she has to question everything she thought she knew. And that all tied into your world building and kind of what was going on with the towers and with the fate of the dimension.
And I will say that the arborists wanting to prune Operablum, I think, was the very first seed that I had. Knowing that Maeve was an arborist, that we had an arborist in the crew.
Yeah.
I knew that they were going to play into the story quite a bit. And I had read in the book that pruning was a thing, like cutting off a dimension, and that being much more of the existential threat than even the fog was so intriguing to me that I knew that I had to bring that in as like the final conflict.
Honestly, I think that speaks to how well the Slugblaster book is written and designed. Like so much in that book. And I'm not just trying to blow smoke up Mikey's ass. Truly, like so much of that book, it's written in such a way where it's just enough of a detail that it fills in the world. It's not left wholly to the player, but it's also not said like there's specifically a castle in this spot.
Yeah.
It's like here's the things you see in the Waking Pits, and then it leaves it up for interpretation. Like the fact that you had insect vampires and liminal space castle was like, oh, that's so like that's so good, Laena. And also Laena couldn't have got there if that foundation wasn't from the like here's what you see in the Waking Pits. Like
Absolutely.
And so the whole all of Operablum kind of came up out of that of just like and then it also helped to sort of like all of us got to spring off the thing we made. Like I knew I wanted to do Pod Boy, but then once we knew Web was Adapt, and they were the sort of like bioengineer slime guys. I was like, oh, I'll take Web. I got my guy goes in Web, no question. Like, I think even all of you, like, it was obvious kind of what tower your characters fell into, yeah?
I don't know that it set itself up as like, oh, Kindred is... It almost worked in like, Wolt doesn't make as much sense in either Webb or Lansdowne, so he must be in Kindred. Yeah. And then because of that, I picked certain things about Wolt, and also I think it adapted more stuff about the Wicks, as to if they are a Kindred group, what sort of fashion things, what style stuff on that very glamorous... fancy living culture kind of stuff can I inject into the character that I wasn't initially planning.
Yeah.
Because like, as I stated before, early sketches, just Digimon. That's all there was.
And so Kindred did become very anime.
But yeah, getting that, like knowing what Kindred was and being like, oh, if my character fits into this, what else is true about that relationship of growing up in a place like this that both influences him and what can he influence onto the rest of the world there, which was fun to find out after we sort of built that together. Yeah.
I know for myself when I thought that Trev 4 would belong to Kindred more is like I was not necessarily as interested in what philosophy. It was just like it made the most sense to go with Kindred. But I was like thinking of dystopian nightmare place and this idea of a character that is fully bought in to the like towing the corporate line fully, and then over time it like Trev 4's thing is like he cares about the people that he works with. That is a part of it, and he is restricted by the programming of the tower. That's why he gets those resets every day. It keeps him in line, so he stays in line with the company. But if he's not doing that, inevitably any Trev 4 unit is going to wind up wanting to break the system and wanting to. And
well, it's because it's fascinating because he's programmed to care about people. That's his job.
Yeah.
But also like it has that implication that like, well, if you care, then like the only logical solution is smash the state, destroy capitalism. So they have to like put a bug debug in of like, oh, we'll just reset his memory because like eventually he's going to arrive at this conclusion.
Yeah,
it's inevitably that like that idea of the daily reset was not. It was not a bug. It was a. And I mean that's also partly, you know, for myself, growing up in a Christian household, like there's a little bit of a exploration of my own like understanding of the world of like, it's the world is like this. You're supposed to love people, be kind, be generous, uphold the poor, the sick, the needy, all that kind of stuff. It will inevitably lead you towards a certain kind of perspective, but then like a certain kind of organized Christianity says, no, not like that though. Not like that. Come back in line, stay in line here. But it's just like, no, but if you follow these thoughts all the way through, you're going to wind up over here. No, stay over here. So like the Trev 4 thing is like that essence of like, no, I'm following the thing you told me to do all the way through will inevitably lead you here.
Jesus told me to sign up for the Socialist Party.
That's right, yeah.
What the audience couldn't see is Dave was making very clear hand signals of pointing left and right. You figure out which way he was pointing.
Sorry, yeah. That was my whole arc throughout the thing. Was just like this is me exploring my own. Where Dave Ray lands in this dystopia. Heyo.
Art imitates life. Never.
Sci-fi is only about made up things.
Only made up things. Only ever.
People are going to point to this interview episode as when QK got woke.
I think it was an ad read where I put an ACAB glitch in it, so there were hints. I gave you all the clues. All right, so now we have some questions for all of us to answer. Starting with Stupid Monkey in the Discord asks, who's everyone's favorite NPC? Aratlon in the Discord added an extension to the question, which NPC did you enjoy playing the most?
I can go first because I got my answers locked and loaded. Favorite NPC, Brabley, obviously. I think my love for that NPC made him into a recurring NPC, maybe? I don't know that
Absolutely. I don't know if I intended for him to show up in DaiboCon, and then you were like, Brabley needs to be there. And I'm like, yeah, he does.
I don't know why. Just like we ran into him in that second episode, and I immediately made the character choice of like, oh, Maeve loves this kid. Maeve thinks this kid is cool as hell.
This 10-year-old.
I don't know what drove that, but it's just like, this is canon now. Maeve thinks Brabley is cool as shit. And then the one that I love playing, Glenzo Tenziton, baby! I'd play him forever if I could. He's my PC next season.
The game of the break is just so good.
Going on break.
My favorite, I think, was the combination of Laena as Shart and Dave as Mogi. you both took it and ran with it so well, especially the way you'd kind of do like how you would do shirt on and off camera.
Yeah.
Like there was like that twist was really fun. And it was, obviously a drag that Glenn is not here for all the reasons that are obvious, and also it meant I don't get to do her. What was the sister's name?
Daphne.
Daphne.
Yeah.
I don't get to do Daphne again. I don't get to do the voice.
Yes.
I really like doing. Brindley, can I read a book with you? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was a fun
I miss doing that
NPC.
voice. So.
PC for next season.
Oh, yeah, come
Glenzo and Daphne.
Oh, yeah, we're going on
The
an adventure.
Adventures of Glenzo
Let's
and
go to
Daphne.
Golden Jungle. I'm gonna get in the mech with you.
Stick
bunch
with
of-
me, kid. We're going places.
I'll be the arm. You can be the head. We're a mech now.
Oh no, I want this. Oh no.
I think a favorite NPC for me was Stuart, the game bot. I loved Hello Gamers. It got me every single time.
Salutations.
Salutations, gamers. Oh,
Can we get one real quick?
Salutations, gamers.
Love it.
Get me every time. I loved it. Question jumping off of that. The bit about giving like human sounding names made with numbers and stuff, was that something you just spun off of Trev 4 being like Trevor, or was that something you already had ideas about doing that sort of naming convention ahead of time?
I think it was the opposite. I think Trev 4 got his name because you had that naming convention, didn't? Isn't that the case?
Oh, I don't remember the order that they
I think
came
Dave was
in.
first.
Yeah, I always I wanted to have a normal sounding name that had like it was
I thought it was the
I
other way
wanted
around.
a robot.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I think you had Trev 4, and I was like, oh, that's really good. What if all robots were named that
Yeah.
way? Yeah, and a lot of my document. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. Any of the robot names that I didn't use.
When Dave came up with that, it's like, oh, it's Trevor, Trev 4, Trevor. And then we all called him Trev 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Through the whole time. No one ever
Trev
called him
4
Trevor.
or Trev.
But yeah, like,
Yeah.
we never tried to even it out, which I do like. Like, it's implied, but it's not deliberate. Yeah.
I love because canonically, we're all speaking Operablin.
Yeah.
And like all of our names in the show are insane shit like Helix and Brinley and like it.
Jericho Zebulax.
Yeah, no one has a normal, but the robots have null names. So I like in my headcanon, like no one in Operablum gets the joke of the robot names. Like it does not land.
Pure
It's incidental.
coincidence.
It's pure coincidence every time. No one is like, if you're like, yeah, because it sounds like Trevor, and they'd be like, what is Trevor? Well, that's not anything.
Advancements in negative friction technology, they skipped right over leet speak.
Okay. I have a lot of NPC names that I never busted out, and some robot names.
Hit us with them.
Should I say any of the other NPC
All
names?
of them.
Does that matter? Okay, great. So some NPC names that I never had. Xela, Xela, Ivanes, Gottram, Schmull.
What a row 3. Ivanis got from Schmull.
That's the
Oh,
full
no,
name,
we got
baby.
from Schmull.
That's like as a Bond girl that I don't get the innuendo, but I know there is something that is like I'm too young to understand the innuendo. I'm watching this and I'm like 7, and I'm like, what's the joke on that one?
Hesperos, Frang,
Frang is good.
Alexandi.
That is the most Laena sounding character name.
And then the robot names, I didn't have like their acronyms spelled out because I wanted to make sure that it could like adapt it to whatever situation they were a part of. But yeah, Stuart was one. Forest for EST. Ford for RD. CRL9, Carol 9.
That's a very good one, yeah.
And then Clayton, CL8N, which sort of was, I think, what Brayton spun off of. And then Fenten, which I think is what Martin eventually spun off of.
Carol 9.
Sweet Carol 9.
Beep, beep, beep.
Beep, bop, boop. All right.
Also, Pelori Dreadfly is in my notes under the heading, all caps, I need to use this.
Michael, you didn't say which one you had the best time voicing.
I know. I was getting to the end.
I'm teeing you up for it.
Oh, a segue. I think the one I enjoyed voicing the most was Charla. I didn't expect to do as much Charla, I think, but eventually I inserted her more and more.
You were like 1/3 of the characters in the finale.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. I also distinctly remember you busted out the Charla voice, and we were like, "Is that too silly?" I don't know. And then you started monologuing seriously as Charla, and we were like, "Damn, Michael sells it." Yeah, you keep the voice.
To do an emotional beat with it, and it's like, oh, I guess
That does work.
maybe
Actually,
it happens. Yeah. I think in terms of characters that I played that like might have legs to do stuff in future, Mondo feels like an interesting character build that like again, depending on context of stuff, could come back up. But like, again, more anime bullshit. Yeah, I like my dumb weapons.
Future season, you got a crew of Mondo and Charla and Stanch and Camry from season 1.
yeah.
I think one of my favorite NPCs. There was a lot of good ones. Glenzo was classic to me. Just a fun character to bump up against. And then the one I had the most fun playing. It's kind of two, but like the one was Mogi Jacksonville because he was chaos and then I did have a lot of fun being Walt's dad as well, just doing like my dad character that I've done before, and just come up with bullshit and not knowing anything about his son. That is funny to me for some reason. It's just pure funny to me.
The NPCs was a real showcase of all of the character voices we have in our back pocket.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I was like, the reason
absolutely.
I love doing Glenzo is because it's that one voice I can kind of do.
Oh yeah, I could do my home sire voice when I'm
Hawk, yeah.
Bach.
Because this voice is too quiet to do in a comedy show on stage. It's too quiet. I can't project like this.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, best NPC overall is Lexing. I don't
Absolutely.
think we said that out loud.
Lexing.
We decided ahead of time, we're like, listen, we can't all pick Lexing, so everyone we'll say it at the end. Yes, obviously the best one is Lexing.
I suppose, what were yours, Laena?
Oh boy, I voiced so many NPCs. And I love them all very much. They all have a special place in my heart. I think one that I want to shout out that I really enjoyed playing was Sequence. I liked playing a character in the Pinnacle project, going through the same stuff that Helix went through to sort of set up like a combination mirror and foil character to just like add more depth to the Pinnacle project and add more for Helix to bump up against that wasn't just Ginevra.
Yeah.
Plus I had fun playing the similar type of like perfect smarty pants Operablin. I also enjoyed Tarmant quite a bit because I think he started as very like he strikes me as very much that archetype of like the finger wagging tisk tisk kind of dum-dum like low key like Mr. Frond vibes.
I was gonna say Mr.
Yeah.
Frond energy,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was like a character like the same role as Mr. Frond.
Yeah.
An authority figure who does not have much authority and is kind of undermined.
But then occasionally you get those moments where it's like, oh wait, he's like a person and he like
Yeah.
actually cares and like he's got more dimension to him.
Yeah, and like the moments when we were actually able to have some gravitas with Tarmant and Maeve were some of my favorite moments to play out. They were very, very cool.
My favorite, like the best surprise of listening back to episodes as I've been editing them was listening to, I think it's the second last episode, that beat between Maeve and Tarmant where he calls and is like, if you come back now, you can get untethered. Like that whole scene, because I was not expecting that offer to be on the table and I was not expecting any of that, and it was fully improv, and that's the first time I've ever been listening to the show heard myself doing like not a thing I planned, a moment that I had been waiting to deploy, but like genuine improv, and been like, oh, that was good. Like, I did good in that. So that's the first time I've ever felt that way, and it was great. Second last episode, baby.
Yeah.
Got one in under the wire.
Did I miss one? Was there one you were
What
thinking
about
of?
Mr. Wilkie?
Yeah.
What about Mr. Wilkie? Any of us? We all
Both
forgot.
forms of Wilkie.
Oh my god! And both forms of Wilkie were. I've said this in a featurette. Subscribe to our Patreon. Both forms of Wilkie were inspired by Mikey.
Yeah.
The weird demon blob is like based on the Wilkie's persona that Mikey sometimes plays in the Discord.
Yeah.
And he did an ad read in that voice one time, and it sent chills down my spine. I wake up in a cold sweat every night, and I knew that I had to play that character. And then also the Guy Fieri vibes is literally what's written in the book.
Contrary to every way Mikey has ever played Mr. Wilkie, his book canonically
not
says
both?
he's Guy Fieri.
Why not both? That's what I thought. Why not both? Wilkie and fake Wilkie, which I think someone dubbed Wonky, which I think is very good.
Future season, The Adventures of Wilkie and Wonky and Daphne and Glenzo.
This crew is getting off the
And
rails.
their rival crew, Oops All Michaels.
It's me, and Mikey Maybe.
Yeah.
Another question here from DM Rawlings. Talk about the loner arc. And I think this is also because you introduced a few special arcs for a variety of the characters. The loner arc, the identity arc.
The rivalry beats.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we did season 1, and I think how it's sort of rules as written in Slugblaster, there are 2 downtime arcs that everyone has. There's the family arc where you have like trouble at home, last straw, eventually leads to redemption, and then you have the angst arc that eventually leads to catharsis, I think is the final beat. And we had seen that all play out in season 1, and going into season 2, I think the idea of doing all of that again, there were some concerns that seeing those same 2 arcs played out like 5 more times might start to feel samey.
We'd already done so much in the first season of like, with everyone having some similar arcs, like how many different ways can you interpret them?
Yeah.
And eventually you run out of different ways to interpret, like classic saying of like, there's only 7 stories kind of thing. Like, you don't want to do too much overlap with the same base.
Yeah, so I sort of analyzed the arcs, figured out how they were sort of structured mechanically, what they were trying to explore narratively, and from there I branched out and started searching for ideas that still fit the broad coming-of-age tropes that could be interpreted multiple different ways. So the ones that I had come up with were identity, rivalry, school beats, similar to trouble at home, you have trouble at school, and peer pressure. Those were the ones that I had initially laid out. And then, Michael, you came to me and said that you wanted to explore Wolt's loneliness through a downtime beat and his sort of fractured relationship with his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then from there, I think we sort of went back and forth with like sort of what does that kind of look like broadly, and then I think I came to you with the beats themselves and how it was sort of written out, and we sort of like finessed it together, if I'm remembering
Yeah,
right.
I think I had pitched a few different names, and you came up with like the text for them, and I love how they ended up like because what they were: this empty house, alone in a crowd, better off alone, and then reconnecting. I felt like that offer of those names that you gave, or like building them in that way, had a very good suggestion of an arc, and it gave me places to play, and like, yeah, I felt like that was an interesting family dynamic that I think is something that you can absolutely see in the real world, and to observe that and almost throw to some of the stuff we've explored in other debutantes projects of like Spirit of the Season was a movie we did where like what can family be and found family sort of stuff, and we were able to tap into some of those things within that arc. I will say, I think it's perfect how this one works out, but I loved the idea of one of the beats just being called Leftovers. That was one of the early ones I pitched of just leftovers, with the idea that he was always just eating food that was like no one else was there. But like it just didn't have a place to fit. But I loved the idea of like, and this was my leftovers beat.
Yeah. And I think in that same vein, because I think I remember that name being pitched, and we had pitched that the name for the final beat would be Family Dinner.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh.
But then I think we stepped away from that and made it a little bit more broad. Yeah.
Which gave the space to see where the rest of the season would eventually take that.
Yeah. And like, I think it was really cool too how Wolt went through that arc and like starts with this empty house. He's got this fractured relationship with his parents. By the end, that's not the thing that resolves, because that's not the thing that needed to resolve. He needed to find his place in his people. And he did, even if it wasn't his parents. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I think everyone did a really good job this season of like finding character resolutions that weren't the obvious easy, like, you know, the obvious easy resolution to that arc of, you know, being disconnected from your family and your parents is like you reconnect with your family and your parents. And I like that everyone kind of chose a more like interesting, nuanced, often realistic resolution to a lot of the arcs, where it's like, no, things don't necessarily button up neatly, but that doesn't mean they don't resolve. Like, you still get closure and catharsis from your arc.
Have we ever published these beats?
They are in the Discord.
Nice.
They're in the resources channel, and I believe the Quantum Kickflip channel as well.
Dave and Liam, you guys both did the identity beats and had two very different versions of those. Can you guys speak to like kind of how those played out for you and what drew you to those arcs?
I mean, because I knew I was going to be have a identical twin in a tube from the outset. The concept of who am I was like right there. So I'm like, oh, identity beats. Jack, like nobody's peer pressuring him. He's not going to school.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like I was really impressed with all the ones that Laena wrote, but knowing what I had going in, it was a no-brainer. It was, yeah.
But like speaks to the strength of that arc that like, that's both a coming of age movie trope of like figuring out your persona and who you are to other people, but can also equally apply to a pod boy finding out about his identical clone brother in a tube. And it's like, it still maps perfectly.
Or a robot learning to love.
Yeah. Well, because the robot, Trev 4 is just... kind of has no identity. Like, it is just supposed to be serve a certain function. Does not have its own thoughts and feelings, but it eventually discovers it over the course of time, left to its own devices. So, like, that identity makes sense, and that also speaks to what a thing I was noticing, and you kind of pointed it halfway through the season as we were recording. I don't know if it was on the actual recording itself, but how Trev and Helix are kind of weirdly the same, but very different. Whereas like Helix is designed to be the perfect person. Like, obviously operable, but like the perfect human and everything, has every quality that like, this is what the perfect human would be. And meanwhile, Trev 4 is the farthest from a human, but wants to be. And like, weirdly, we are the same, but going in different directions.
Because we're both engineered, but the idea of like engineering a creature with free will, it can never be what you engineer it to be, because as soon as you set it off free, it's going to start, having its own experiences and perspective. It's why twins aren't the same people. Because like, even if their DNA is the same, one guy went left, the other twin went right, that now you've had a wholly different life experience. Real butterfly effect situation.
Yeah.
We got one!
We're both these engineered creatures, but yeah.
Yeah, led to a really cool relationship between Helix and Trev 4 too, I think.
Those are some of my favorite scenes of Helix contemplating the nature of intelligence and personhood via Trev 4. We're just like, I've never thought of robots as sentient entities, but here's one right in front of me, so I have to reckon with this kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that was fun for me because I do watch a lot of, like, I watched all of the recent, it's almost 20 years old now, but the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, and the whole thrust of that is like, can AIs ever actually be humans? Do androids dream over electric sheep? And the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, for the purpose of the story, yes, I'm interested in exploring the consciousness.
Yeah.
But no, they're robots. Fuck them.
Yeah.
And I anytime there's a sci-fi thing that talks about like the autonomy of a robot, I kind of always default to like, yeah, but it's a robot. Like it's someone engineered it.
Yeah.
Which I know is not in the spirit of your ex machinas and your AIs. Like, but I can't shake it. So when the future comes that we have robot intelligence indistinguishable from humans, I will be the one calling them toasters and killing them mercilessly. I refuse to. But it was fun to explore that in this character.
Mm-hmm. Robyn, what about you and your rivalry beat? What drew you to that?
I really speed ran that towards the end. We were most of the way through the season. I had really focused on 2, where I think a lot of you had kind of spread out your downtime beats across 3 arcs.
Yeah.
I had kind of just focused in on 2, and mostly that was like I was not interested at all in some of the arcs that we'd seen already. I didn't want to do an angst track or a grit track. Like I felt like we had seen enough of that across the characters and like really like what everyone has done with those arcs. Don't know what I could bring to the table. But then we got most of the way through the season and I still had, several downtimes to fill and was like, I'll try and see if I can sneak one more of these in. And one of the things I love about these arcs that you created is like it does give you an alternative so that you don't necessarily have to have a bummer arc. Not necessarily like conflict free. There's still like plenty of conflict and intrigue and stuff. But like you're not like, well, I have to do an angsty one because that's what's on the sheet. I was able to do a much breezier one that didn't feel like it was that I wasn't doing it justice just because I ripped through it in a few episodes at the end of the season. Like that still felt like it had weight to it. Whereas if I had done that with the angst arc, I think it would have felt hollow. It would have felt like, well, we didn't have a chance for any of these beats to really land. I like that there's so much more variety in these arcs that I could do a peppy one.
Nice. Also, gonna toot my own horn a little bit. One of the things that I really wanted in designing these arcs was, or I guess something that I really didn't want in designing these arcs was, I didn't want the arc to feel like you had to take it in only one direction.
Yeah.
I wanted there to be sort of room that you could sort of go either way. You could go multiple ways with it while still being true to the beats of the arc. So like one of the examples is in the identity beats. This isn't you. You're trying to be someone you're not. Who even are you? Coming of age, you're more sure of yourself than you've ever been. What's changed? How new is the new you? You could ostensibly go through that identity beat and realize, no, wait, who I am is who I've always been.
Yeah.
And now I'm just more confident in the person that I was and that they are the person that I am now. You don't have to go through a whole change.
But you could if you want to. Like, yeah, it doesn't funnel you into the easy answer of like, who you were was good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Or like the peer pressure beats. That one didn't come up, but you feel pressure to do something cool, but dangerous, illegal, or otherwise uncomfortable. Do you do it? Who approves, who doesn't? Next beat, the pressure increases or the stakes get higher. Do you double down? Is your resolve shaken? So throughout all of the peer pressure beats, like you would think that it would be, oh, my character is facing peer pressure, and then they give in to it. But I wanted to explore, well, what happens if you choose to give in? What if you choose not to give in? You can still go through the arc and take it either direction. Yeah. So that was something I was really focused on when I was writing these arcs as well.
To go back to the identity beat thing, I just want to highlight a recent narrative fiction, I guess, heuristic or trope or framework of understanding a story. We're all familiar with the hero's journey. Mm-hmm. It's a very popular storytelling. I heard of something recently referred to as the baggage mode of storytelling, where a character comes preloaded with a bunch of baggage and expectation and things about them, and their story is basically them unpacking all of the things they are to the world, and then coming out at the end knowing who they truly are. And I think this identity beat really feeds into that baggage theory of storytelling. The main example being Barbie, where like she goes like, what does it mean to be a Barbie in relation to other Barbies, relation to women, relation to young women, relation to the lady who made me, relation to the Mattel Corporation, and then by the end of the movie she knows who she is. And that anyway, identity beat, I was feeds into that really nicely in a way that kind of decouples it from a hero's journey, which for a role-playing game is really good because you're really interrogating the role you're playing.
Yeah.
As opposed to really trying to have your guy go and be I was the chosen one, now I'm the chosen one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ursula K. Le Guin, who founded the
Nice.
the baggage theory of storytelling.
I've been listening to a lot of stuff breaking down her Earthsea series lately. Another question from Aratlon for the players. Which place or device would you love to have in real life?
Place or device? So
Like dimension?
Dimension?
Yeah, I guess where would you, which of these fictional places would you like to explore, or what device would you like to have in your real life kind of thing?
I was going to say, like, because so many of the places are like, oh, it's, the fire dimension or the spooky vampire dimension. Like, a lot of them are hostile.
Yeah.
So my brain immediately went like, well, it might be fun to, like, go through a Quahalia experience and, like, you'd, like, learn about yourself and have some freaky but, like, I think I'm just saying I want to do drugs. I may be realizing
I
in this
want to live in
moment.
dream
that
space
now.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
like,
it
I-
freaks me out. It's like, nah, my dreams are messed up enough as it is. I don't want a dimension of that.
I do. Quahalia is probably the most interesting one. No slight to the worlds of this game. Did a great job spreading them out, but they all kind of read like Mario levels. Like, there's Water World, there's Fire World, there's
that's
Demon
what's
World.
great about them.
That's
Is
what's
like,
great and makes it great for but Quahalia, the potential for weird adventures is so high, and it can be anything to anyone that Quahalia is dope.
I feel like I would want to, like, this is, we just explored it all season what a dystopia it is, but I feel like Operablem's got to have like a killer music scene, and like there's got to be some really cool art going on in Operablem in that wild of a dystopia. And if I don't have to like live there, if I can just visit and go see an underground show, I'd check out Operablem.
Some element of Operablem also gives me the vibes of like the times I've been to New York, or even just like the downtown parts of Toronto and stuff. Like going somewhere, if you were to go to like Beijing, Taipei, like a really like heavily densely populated metropolis or something, like Tokyo even, like it'd be cool to experience that kind of culture that grows up around something like that isn't such Albertan urban sprawl.
Yeah.
I also think Popularia would be just such a good place to vibe. Oh my god.
I love the detail and popularity that it's a half ocean, half not ocean.
Is that in the book, or is that something
Or is that just something we came up with? But either way, that just like the fact that there's like a one
It's
never ending
all
beach.
Yeah.
Is just
Yeah.
I mean, like, look, there are a lot of wonderful, adventurous dimensions to go to in this game. I am just a simple man who would die in most of these dimensions. So why am I trying to mess around in Desneen, like where you will have to have like special equipment and everything? Just take me to Popularia.
Yeah.
I'll go to the beach. I can survive a beach. You know what I mean?
I'd check out Empyrean. I'd see what's
Sure.
going on in Empyrean.
I would stay on the very first island I was put onto. In Imperium,
yeah.
and
This
then
is my zone.
I'm not leaving.
Do they have a
and
viewing
turn around.
platform? Is that How can I treat this like a zoo?
I feel like in Imperium, because that's the one with all the floating islands, right in the middle of like nothing.
It's like a
right?
It's a ribbon.
You're thinking of Prismatia, I think.
Oh, okay.
Prismatia is like light space with glass islands and rivers and stuff, and then
Imperium
Empyrean
has the deer?
has the deer.
But isn't that also like a series of like
I
floating
conflate
islands?
them sometimes too. They're kind of they're both very trippy, but one is like pastoral forest and one is
Sure.
just Rainbow Road.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because look, I have a fear of heights, and but like any floating island thing, I am not.
Fair.
I'm not going to the edge of any of these places. So the popularity. Well, and what was the secondary? Oh,
Devices.
the devices.
Devices.
Which, man, I said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. Voidware backpack, baby. I want a Voidware backpack.
Because you can bring summon anything.
Yeah, and you can like you store it. It seems practical
it
for
seem-
my day-to-day life.
It also it gives you that Looney Tunes ability to reach behind your back and pull out a big mallet, which I want to be the
Can't
man.
go
That's
wrong.
what we want.
Can't go wrong.
See, the problem with a lot of these devices, if you think about them too hard, it's like all of these can commit war crimes.
Yes.
Every one of them is just like, I don't think anybody would allow you to have this for too long if they figured out what this thing can do. And also, I don't fully remember all of the devices, so I'm going to choose between the two that I've played so far, the hyper-optic visor and the power armor. And I feel I have to go with the hyper-optic visor. Like, that I feel is handy in my day-to-day life of getting a sense of, like...
Oh, what's behind this wall?
No. Does this person like me? Yeah. Wait, does this person like...
You have a mechanized way to do an insight check on someone.
Yeah, just like, oh no, this is nothing to do. They're upset about something else. This has nothing to do with me. Okay, I'm good. That's what I just want to know.
You just want the advanced neural imaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Just give me that one. And even if I have to yell at them, like, I am scanning your brain, that'll be better than just trying to guess.
I forgot about the bit where it was obvious that you did.
It's obvious.
I like that that's more preferable to you than just being like, do you like me? I am scanning your brain to see if you like me.
As long as I can phrase it as, like, I'm scanning your brain.
Yeah.
That would be
Oh,
great.
well, scanning's fine.
There's social faux pas, but at least with one of them, you get workable information.
Yeah.
You ask them, they could lie. If you scan their brain, you know.
Fair,
It seems like this scan is telling me they hate the fact that I'm scanning their brain. Well, at least
That's
I can cooperate from there.
That keeps happening.
I'll have to probe deeper.
I'm a slut for a sword. I ain't nothing but a blade skank. I'll say it. Give me that fucking laser sword.
Yeah, you can't take it anywhere, though, in real life.
Who's gonna stop me? I got a laser sword. Yeah, I'm committing war crimes, and that's the fun of it.
Mine continues to be the reality canon. And I was thinking about why. Obviously, messing with reality is just a fun detail, like it's Scarlet Witch vibes, but also the fact that it's phrased as a canon. It's very it's got this like brute force destructive element to reality.
Yeah,
is very like whatever reality you're manipulating it, you're doing it with the deftness and accuracy of a cannon.
Yeah,
like it's not a reality gun or a reality brush or a reality hose.
Yeah,
it's a reality cannon. Because even
Not
like
a reality chisel.
yeah. even if it was like reality gun, like you can have a glue gun, a staple gun. Like there's guns that create.
It's pinpoint. Yeah,
and it's accurate. But cannon has this like brute force to it that I think is very charming.
Laena, you got a
a
favorite?
normal cannon does that. A normal cannon
Changes the
reality
reality
pretty quickly.
Only in a couple of ways, but
It takes the adjective of whole to shattered.
yeah.
Oh, device. Like, the skip mode runners are so fascinating to me, but also they, like, scare me a little bit. Like, it seems very cool to, like, teleport and shit, but also, it's probably not a good idea to fast forward every time I'm sad. I had a whole season 1 character about that.
True. Honestly, like, getting real for a second, the thing we've been going through lately where we've got a baby in the hospital and we're waiting for him to be able to come home, I have had the thought multiple times, like, wish I had a pair of those skip mode runners. Wish I could just skip a month.
That's the thing. I have had that thought too.
Yeah.
Because, like, additionally to having a baby in the hospital, I've, like, been through some, like, very tough personal shit over the past year. And more than once I have had the thought, oh, I'd love to just, like, skip today. I'd love to just, like, not. Which is, I think, precisely why I can't choose the skip mode runners.
That's fair, yeah.
As tempting as it is, you gotta fight through the days that you don't want to have, you know?
Yeah. There's an Aesop fable called Click.
God damn it.
Anyway, I'll pick the Rift Ninjas because they're also shoes, but they're not existentially challenging.
The problem I had with the Rift ones where you can skip time is skip modes is just that, sure, you can skip through time, but like that doesn't skip through your emotions. Like it doesn't fast forward through your emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just you've lost a day, but you're still sad. So really, I guess the skip modes is what? drugs and alcohol? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Skip
yeah.
through today.
I was gonna
You're
say,
still
if we're
sad tomorrow.
comparing,
It was an addiction for Angus for sure.
Yeah.
DM Rawlings in the Discord also asks, which plot threads do you wish you'd explored more? What unfinished business or any future QK story might touch on? Anyone have any threads that they feel like they didn't really pick up? I don't think I have any. I think we got Helix's story kind of set the way we wanted. But it was a little, if you had asked me this mid-season, I was a little disappointed that the stunts thing kind of came and went as more of a like first act journey as opposed to an overall goal. But then we got to see Mogi again, and so that was very fun. It didn't end up being as much of a through line as I wanted, but I think it did serve the story overall. But and when I had originally started this, he really was going to lead hard into the Fust angle of things, because I think we all tried to do that, be like, well, what are factions we didn't see in season 1? And I picked Fust.
Yeah.
And I wanted to have more Fust stuff. Like, I even made his playlist, Helix's playlist, not so much like songs that get me into the headspace of Helix or about being a pod boy, and more just like, I want to do my version of the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtrack.
Yeah.
Which would be the Fust mix.
Yeah.
So I guess I just never got to have him be like, I've got the Fust mix. Who wants to listen?
Fust as a faction is definitely a meaty one that, we didn't explore as much of in season 2 that could be so fun to explore in a future season for sure.
I don't know that I'd want to, like, I love that we moved on from the season 1 characters and got to create this whole new world in season 2, and I think that's what excites me about doing more role-playing, is like going new places. So I don't know that I want to see these characters again. If we were to see these specific characters again, my serious answer for what I'd want to see come back is Clem, Wolt's love interest, that kind of like, I thought they had real chemistry, and then, Maeve also wanted to, and things went the way they did, which was good for Maeve. But I feel like Clem could come back around as a future complication to their relationship, that he could show up as a third wheel or a competition or something. And I think that'd be really fun. My dumb answer is that as I was looking over my notes for this interview, I opened a document of notes that I haven't opened for a while, because it's like all of my slang and stuff that I kind of have internalized and don't need to have open. But I also forgot that I was keeping notes there. And one of the notes I kept was, remember, Trev 4 canonically has a Quahalian watch that tracks the potential outcomes of different decisions. It was in the fashion episode when you like got us all outfits in Popularia. You were like, the thing I have is a Quahalian watch that doesn't tell time, it tells different decisions and like basically shows you the branching path of your own destiny.
Yeah,
and I was
next.
like, this is going to come in clutch in the finale. We're going to be like, oh my God, we're all out of options. There's no way to overcome this. And then we're going to remember Trev's Quahalian watch and use that to like get one over on the bad guys. And I'm so mad that I forgot about it.
Ooh, I don't know. I actually think, not only because I think we nailed the ending, but like if you had whipped that out, I would have been like, what the hell are you talking about? I've been sitting here for every episode and I don't know what the hell you're referring to.
When Dave first introduced it, you also said like, oh, for Trev 4, it's only ever one path. And I was like, we'll see. I'm going to bring that watch back and you're going to look down at your wrist and realize there's branching timelines. Whoa! And it never happened.
And that relies on me remembering things past the last episode we recorded. Which, I think generally speaking, like, I feel the storylines kind of wrapped up well for Trev 4, like, as in they came to a nice solid ending.
Do you feel like you got everything you wanted out of the Stanch relationship and storyline? Because I know that was one of among all the different sort of NPC builds. That was one where like Laena and I had some more discussion, just the two of us, about things, because you wanted some like secrets and things that Trev wouldn't have known.
I think there was a meeting with the three of us, and then there was a meeting with just me and Michael.
Yeah, that was the thing where a layer to this whole season for me was just like, I didn't know half my backstory.
You chose amnesia, baby.
I chose amnesia, and that it adds another layer. That was a challenge for me personally, Dave Ray, with my brain chemicals, which but that being said, following it through, like I feel that there was nothing that was incomplete about the arcs. I feel like, especially since Shimmer turned out to be the main bad guys, and we like resolved that in the end. There's not too many like threads left for Trev. Trev is now just living his new night. Trev is just living his new life now. So
living his best life.
Yeah, best life. As a
I
labor lawyer.
started the season as Ryan Atwood, and you ended the season as Sandy Cohen. Where my OC
That's
fans
beautiful.
at?
Is that another butterfly effect one, or is that?
Butterfly.
I don't know that there were any more threads to Wolt on a character level that I wanted to check in on. I think it could be cool to have like seen more of what the Daiboken scene was, other than just the glimpses we got with the interactions with Olive and the tournaments and stuff. But that would put way too much focus on Daiboken, a thing that I invented that is not a focus of the game or the season. So
It was just your justification for Robot Companion.
yeah, it fully just like, oh, what's a flavor I can layer over this device? And it's like, oh, I don't need to do that much world building for another game faction or something. I don't need to design an N64 game in this.
As far as we see in the canon of the show, Daiboken is like this popular trend that a bunch of people engage in, but we only really see it played by like one of the PCs, a world famous champion, and one random 10-year-old, and that's the entirety of the Daiboken scene that we see.
There was a con. There was a whole con.
And the dash.
And the race, yeah, okay.
There was
fair
a lot
enough.
of Daibo kids.
They were just very heavily front-loaded in the season,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you assume there's more in the background.
Exactly.
Okay, throw one in there. I do wish we had a scene or an episode that took place at Knacker's Row.
Oh, yeah. We never came back
We
around
never
to that.
went back to that.
It showed
and-
up in
Or
the
Jumbo.
fiasco stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we
But
never
not the-
really pulled it back in for our main crew at all.
Yeah.
Ooh, not a plot thread, but just like a running gag that popped up a few times early on and then didn't come back was the character of the mayor of Kindred Tower as this weird mascot character. And it was like, I just love that bit. And he's just this weird guy who's the mayor, and like that would have been fun to see more of, but I also realized it was just a passing gag, so it didn't need to.
Yeah.
A thing I loved.
He'll be the bad guy of season 3.
Oh no.
Absolutely.
Just like in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Mad Mayor is the bad guy of season 3.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, and like for me, I don't know if there were any like specific plot things or like character threads. Nothing at least is coming to mind of something that's nagging at me that felt particularly unfinished. I was looking through my notes trying to see if there was something that like I was missing, and I think something that like not even a plot thread, but something I wish I had sprinkled in more was more ads. Because the LED screens were such a big part of the aesthetic of Operablum that if early on when I was writing a lot of notes as a GM, writing ads for the different towers felt like a way that I could like inject some quick world building and then keep the screens as a really sort of prominent part of Operablum. So if I could go back and do it all again, I wouldn't change anything except I would try and add more and more ads.
It's
I
just
would
funny
add
that like
ads.
the thing we do differently is put more ads in our podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of, we're throwing it over to Me Undies. Does that company exist still?
I have no idea. I think there's only one more question on our list, but wait, what's this? 2 new questions just came across my desk in this moment, and they're both for David Ray.
What?
Stupid Monkey on the Discord asks, is it true David Ray was really Trev 4 disguised as a human this whole time, and that's why he's so pale? Is this someone that knows you?
I don't know.
I think we just discovered that we have a stalker. So?
Am I actually Trev 4 in disguise? You know what? In some regards, I feel that way. Because
I think that's what you were saying about how, like, his arc was your arc.
yeah, it was all right, yeah.
You are one and the same.
Same. Well, like any character I play, like it was same with Chester, or anytime I play one on stage or whatever, is like they're stripes of me, just take it to a like an nth degree kind of a thing. And sometimes I feel like a robot in that I like, this makes sense, doesn't it, everybody? And people are like, no, that's not how people think. I'm like, oh no. What's wrong with me? So yes, I could very well be a robot. I'm not going to stab into my flesh to find.
And that is traditionally the only way to tell in a movie.
Reach into your stomach and pull
Or
out
like
a
we can
computer.
drown him, and if he doesn't drown, then he's a robot.
Yeah.
And if he does drown, he's...
Yeah.
And if I do drown in short circuit because of my neuro,
And then DM Rawlings asks, is David Ray upset that he can't get Robyn to remix the Kindred theme anymore?
Look,
I'll tell you who's not upset. This guy.
I feel like I was asking for a lot of those remixes.
I did not put you through the paces this season as much as I did first season.
Yeah, it was mostly just the Kindred anthems because they were different every time, but yeah.
we were doing montages. So.
Yeah, montages was all season 1. I didn't give you as many montages.
I mean, you threw one into the finale. Right at the end.
I did it to you every run in season 1.
This is true. This is true. Then I think we only have the actual final question on our list here, which is I'll direct it to the whole group. Alex E. Cook asks, "Will there be a season 3?"
Hopefully.
Yeah. The answer to that is hopefully, but we're not fully sure.
And it's mostly our fault.
Yeah.
Laena and we had a baby recently, and we
Oopsie.
are still figuring out how that's impacting our lives. So we're the ones that can't commit at this juncture. So we're gonna take an indefinite hiatus to QK, but that it is genuinely. We all hope for it to be a hiatus and not an end to the show. And with that in mind, we actually still have more stuff in the works yet, even though the season 2 finale is going up. So please don't stop following the socials or the Patreon because we will have a one shot in the works that we have yet to post. There's more glitch content going up from the end of season 2. There will be lots more fun stuff. I believe the plan right now is to pause the Patreon, so you won't be getting charged for the time in which we are not doing the show. But we're also going to make all of our previous content available as one-time purchases. So if you're new to the show, you haven't signed up for the Patreon, you can still access all that content. You just might have to pick it up a la carte instead of as a monthly subscription.
Yeah.
Fun little packages of glitches and interviews and things.
Yeah. And hopefully, I think we all love doing this show. We all love hanging out with each other. We all love playing this game.
Yeah,
so
I think we've all been inspired with more ideas of things we'd have fun exploring within Slugblaster and stuff.
Even
and
just in this conversation.
Yes, absolutely.
Just comes down to if we have the time and energy to make things happen, and it might also be influenced by if there's more Slugblaster content that inspires us in fun ways as well.
Absolutely. Mikey, get on it.
Okay. Yeah, I feel it's not that we don't have ideas for other seasons, because I know I have a few in the chamber. It's more like, are we able to? And this one shot, I think, is something you can look forward to and will be coming down the line.
So season 3, maybe more QK content. Yes,
absolutely.
And that concludes all of the questions we've gotten from the Discord. Thank you so much for submitting all of these questions, listeners. We had such a great time answering them for you. It led to some really cool discussions and some fun times. And until next time...
see ya.
Keep on slugging, as we say every time.
At the end of every episode.
Here we go. In perfect unison.
Keep on slugging
now. In the future.
I'm not doing a glitches for this. I refuse to do a glitches for this.
You just put them all at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
There's just a little ending
Like when an
theme.
episode's too short and they just toss some bloopers at the end to pad it out.
Like a Pixar movie.
Oh my god.
No one's gonna watch the credits otherwise.
My name is Laena. I am your host. I am your Slugmaster. And with me are some of my best and funniest friends in the whole world who are going to introduce themselves All at the same time. 3, 2, 1.
My name is Michael Vetsch, and I
Xandross,
was
the
playing
great
Woldton
player.
with the Chill Playbook with the robot companion.
That's
Dave.
right. Liam, Robyn, Michael, and Herman are all here today. And as I mentioned, my name is Laena. I am your host and your Slugblaster.
This is a mess.
Bad idea? Bad
No,
idea?
it's great. Keep going.
That's right. We are all gathered here today to answer your questions about Season 2. Questions for the players, questions for me as the GM, questions about our lives. Not that one. 2 out of 3 of those are correct.
We sure we don't want to glitches? We sure about this?
Or take it from the top.
Are we sure Lena's fucking up constantly?
Pressure's off. Anything goes.
Should I go from the top?
I'm not opposed.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Let's
You,
go
you
from
did
the
make
top.
a guttural truck sound instead of just your name.
That is
So,
true.
I liked it all, but now we've gotten so derailed
We
that
have.
I don't want to try and get it back on track. So,
No, you
yeah.
are. That is correct.
Can we start off by saying like, "Hey, we did it! We
did
did a
it.
second
We
season of the
did
podcast.
it!
Great job, y'all!
Great job, us. Great job, Laena.
Yeah.
Great job,
Yeah.
Laena, for DMing the shit out of that.
Great job, players, for being awesome players. Good
Great job, listener. You guys didn't really do anything. You just
No, you
listened
did.
to
No,
it.
don't listen to Robyn. You supported us
Mm-hmm.
and kept the hype going, and you all get gold stars.
Yeah, you told all your friends. You used all your social media platforms to push your favorite
The
podcast.
5-star reviews
Oh,
from
we can't
everyone.
thank you enough
Wow.
for just spamming your
you
feeds.
clearly did.
In fact, we're going to read off some of our favorite 5-star reviews right now. Let me just open up the app and... Oh.
no.
Oh.
I'm taking away your gold stars because you didn't give us gold stars. Now.
It's more slurs than I thought. Is that comment isolated enough?
It's all staying in, baby.
Oh, no.
I've listened to you do this voice now for like over a year, and it's only click now. It is very similar also to a King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard song.
Sure.
Called the Han Tayumi, the Confused Cyborg.
Drop the Spotify link in the description.
So can I just get you to say soy protein munt machine, please?
Sorry, Munt Machine?
Yeah, soy protein munt machine. You want to eat the soy protein so that you can vomit, and that's what'll make you feel human, as per the song. Soy protein munt machine.
Soy soy human?
Were you about to say soy human?
Soy human is people.
Speaking in
You all
Spanish.
know I have an audio processing problem. Okay. Soy pure.
It's okay. I don't want to put you on the
Me
spot.
es soy human.
These are 4 words that like don't even...
Soy protein munt. What was
Machine.
it? Machine. Oh shit.
Shit.
Oh shit. I have to pull up the.
Can we also talk about how
Vox
you
my
said,
human asshole.
I don't know what love is in a human voice instead of a robot voice?
The robot voice is on the previous one. What? The stage direction was only on the one thing.
I gotta.
Supposed to be both. I don't remember it. Oh.
I just remember because I wrote that sketch.
Oh.
It's like, this is what we actually sound like. I don't know what love is.
What love is.
Did you design that one too?
Yeah.
Yeah, Laena did all the custom arcs for this season.
Fucking talented or something? What?
Fuck. What? God. What?
What? God, what?
Heaven's up and heaven's down.
Fuck, what? God, what? No, wait a second. No, sorry, wait.
Hi, my name is Fuck. My name is what? My name is God.
It's like a god.
Dick God.
It's that other Eminem song.
I'm a dick God. I'm a superhuman.
Dick god.
Is that the Fiddler on the Roof song?
Yeah, my musical theater's coming out. Sorry. Yeah, everybody loves
Your
when
musical
Eminem
theater
played
is
Tevye. Yo, tradition.
Oh my god.
Oh, if I could be rich here in Detroit, where this place stands.
A Ratlon in the Discon. A Ratlon in the Discon.
Is that Brendan Urie's new solo project?
Those were the ones that I had initially.
I think, generally speaking, like, I feel the storylines kind of wrapped up well for Trev 4, like, as in they came to a nice solid ending. I had another thought.
Yeah, it sounded like you were going somewhere.
It sounded like I was going to go somewhere with that.